All right, good evening all. You are highly welcome to today's workshop. My name is Johnson. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, brother, yes. I'm
All right.
audible also.
All right, so I don't know if we have new people joining us. This is Safeoclock, and it's a platform where health and safety like-minded professionals we meet virtually every Thursday by 6 p.m. to discuss a specific topic for the week. So interestingly, this week we are discussing JSA. So that is topic that almost everybody knows about, but is an avenue for us to refresh our mind, refresh our what we know already, and uh, use the opportunity to teach others as well who might not be too familiar with the topic. All right, so without wasting much time, let's do brief presentation. I'll do brief presentation, and within a few minutes, we can also do some practical aspect of it, so that if some people that are still with us that need to refresh their mind, they will refresh their mind. Then we have a group discussion as usual. So what exactly is a JSA? Job safety analysis is a systematic process or a systematic way of identifying hazards by grouping the task into steps. So the task might be a very big one, but in order to identify hazard associated with each of the steps or each of the procedures, so we group the task in steps. So going by each step, when you have identified the first step, you identify the hazards that are associated with that step and recommend control measures for that particular step. Then you go to the next step, identify the next step of the job, identify the hazard associated with it, and recommend the control measures associated with that. So that is what is known as JSA. So JSA is used in most times critical activities, and JSA does not replace risk assessment. Risk assessment is a cumulative of all the activities going on in the workplace. But for JSA, we specify it on that particular activity so that we'll be able to take proper look at the steps associated with the activity and identify the hazards associated with them. So if we depend on only the risk assessment, the risk assessment might not be able to give us the in-depth knowledge or in-depth steps associated with that activity. So that is where the knowledge of JSA came into place, so that we'll be able to identify the hazards as the job is going on. So JSA is a best way, or is a better way of teaching new people or new workers, because the activity has been categorized into steps. So it's very easy for them to understand the steps in the activity and also understand the hazard associated with each of the steps. So it makes it more easier. Now, what are the processes of or the sequence involved in developing JSA? First, let's look at the importance of JSA. The first one is it helps in breaking down the job or the task into sequences. So, like I said before, when you are able to break this task into sequences, it becomes very easy, or it becomes a learning tool for new workers. Also, another importance of JSA is that it's good for documentation. It's used for documentation in the sense that if the JSA is not documented, you see that different people can take different directions in achieving the same task. Some people can start from A and some people can start from B, and at the end, they will achieve the same task. But documenting the JSA makes it a unified step that everybody doing that same activity will follow in that particular organization. So that is one of the importance of JSA. It documents the steps and makes it very easy for people to understand so that carrying out that activity will no longer be at the determination of each individual. If the group has come together and have written the JSA following this sequence or these steps, so it makes it easy for everybody to follow, and the hazards that has been identified already is easily eliminated or taken care of. So it also helps in providing recommendations or control measures. So when the activities has been highlighted or has been broken down into steps, so the recommendations will be appropriate for each step. So unlike in risk assessment that we might give recommendation for a generic hazard, but in this JSA, the recommendation you are going to give is tied to each of the steps, which makes it more appropriate that the hazard will be properly taken care of or properly controlled. Also, the JSA is easier to integrate in the workflow in the sense that the JSA was developed by the entire team. So everybody understands what the routine activity is, and everybody understands what the hazard associated with the job is. So it makes it easy to be integrated in the work and nobody will ignore it. So from my explanations, these are the basic steps that should be followed when developing a JSA. So the first one is to select the activity or the task. So when the JSA is task-based, so it will not be appropriate to use a particular JSA developed for this type of activity to use in a different type of activity. So it's activity or task-based. So you select your activity and make sure that you focus on high-risk activities, or maybe activities that has had a high injury rate, or maybe accident has been encountered. But most appropriately, all tasks, all high-risk activities should be properly analyzed. So the next one is to break these jobs into steps. So you identify step one. What are you going to do in the step one? So when the step one is identified, we analyze identify the hazard associated with that particular steps, then put control measures associated with that hazard in that step. So the next one is to determine the preventive measures. So when you have identified hazards associated with the steps, you put in control measures that will help to either eliminate the hazard or eliminate the risk, or help to control the risk. So after that, the next one is to communicate this JSA to everyone. Now, one of the most important questions that people always ask is, who develops JSA? Whose duty or whose responsibility is it to develop job safety analysis? But the most appropriate question is, JSA is a group task. It's not something that one person should do alone. So it should be done by the experts involved in that activity. Meaning, if this activity is like maybe carpentry work, so that JSA should be developed by the carpentry team, from their engineer to the supervisor and the entire workers involved in that activity. So if the team is very large, they can select representatives, maybe 5 or 3 out of the team, to sit down and analyze the steps of their task and prepare a proper JSA. So JSA is not suitable, it's not supposed to be one-man job or what one person can do alone in order to get the best out of it. So I have a simple a task that we can use to practicalize what we have discussed now, which is just to develop a JSA for shifting a printer from the office to a waiting truck. So this is a simple task, but there are steps involved in this task. So these steps involved in this task are what we have to bring out the control measures or the hazards associated with them. So I'll stop this sharing and find another form. I want to open the form, the blank form that you can use. I have a form that I want to share, but there's some company logos on it, so I'm trying to remove it. Okay, let me share my screen again. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so sorry for that delay. I didn't keep the. So this is the the activity said that we are going to shift a printer from the office to a waiting truck. So what is our first step? We can say that the first step is to we can say our first step is to load the printer on a trolley. Okay, so that is, so now we have to identify the hazards associated with that particular step. So the first hazard we can talk of maybe we can talk of pinch injuries. We can talk of maybe manual handling. So what other hazards we can relate to that? Maybe uneven floor also. So the particular hazard we are identifying now is related to the step alone. Now we can just give a number, can give a number to the severity and the probability. Can decide to give them 3, and the risk base is 9. Now, the control measures associated with these steps, we can say we implement our manual handling procedure. Okay. Then for pinch injury, we can say use impact protection, impact protected hand gloves. Okay, so when we must have entered some of the control measures, we visualize or we expect that there will be reduction in the risk level. So we can say after that, that will be having a severity of, maybe the severity will remain, but maybe we'll be having a probability reduction to 1, and we'll be having our risk, residual risk as 3. So this is just what we can have. Then the second step, what is now the second step? The second step of that activity will be to push the trolley to the truck location. So again, what are the hazards associated with this particular step of the activity? So we can have something like manual handling as well, because it involves pushing. Can have something like equipment damage. Now, what we can give the severity a number, can decide to give it 3, give the probability maybe 2. I will say our risk base will be 6. Of course, I'm sure everybody understand how we got the risk base. It's just the probability multiplied by the severity. So what control measures we can put in place? We can use more workers. We can say more people to be involved. can bring in training also, so that they understand how to push the trolleys, and we can save maintenance of the equipment. So this is the control measures I have for that. Now, if the control measures is effective, it can reduce the probability to 2. Now we can be having a residual risk of 3. Now, my final step of the activity would be to load the printer on the waiting truck. So there are hazards that will be associated with these particular steps. Could be collision with pedestrians. Other ones could be maybe falling objects during the loading. And maybe hand finger injury also. So given my severity, I can give these 3 and give the probability, can give the probability 2, then giving my risk base to 12. So what could be my control measures? I can say maybe we'll barricade the area. And we can say can use proper hand glove, right? We can also ensure that the equipment are properly inspected and maintained. Okay, so if the control measures are effective, then we can be having a reduction in the severity, can be having a reduction maybe 2 and maybe probability to 3, and we'll be having a residual risk to 6. So this is just a brief and a simple JSA. And the idea is just to give us a typical idea of what JSA looks like and how it goes. So this is just a simple one, and it can get complicated depending on the activity or depending on the task. So gentlemen, this is it from me. I will now leave the floor open for a proper response.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah,
Good evening.
Yes, sir. The first thing I want to do is to ask a question, because from different JSA, especially while going through subcontractor JSAs, I see a common problem or a common mistake. So I wanted to ask, sometimes we interchange activities with hazards. What's the separating line? Where do we convert, like now, for example, if you can show us back the last slide that you were showing just now, I will appreciate.
The form?
Yes, the form that we just filled now, the one that you removed, your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. On the screen, we have one of the hazards as manual lifting. Okay, good. Thank you, sir. Manual handling. Is manual handling an hazard? Or that is the activity being done? Yeah, I agree with pinch, I agree with uneven floor, but manual handling itself, is it really an hazard or an activity? I believe that if we look deeply into manual handling, we will see that thing that constitutes an hazard that they're doing wrong. I stand to be corrected. So I'm raising this so that I can be clarified. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll leave this for others to answer. That is why we are here.
Yes, sir, you're right. It can also be other activities, driving, welding, any other activity.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello, Mr. Johnson. Maybe you recognize my voice, maybe.
Yes, I think so. I think so. Go ahead.
Okay. So this gentleman question related to manual handling. Actually, it is a hazard, and it is also being practiced as an activity. So it's both. So what is happening? Some manual handling, like safe handling, I think up to 25 kg can be handled. Is an activity, but if is being practiced wrongly or being practiced unsafely, definitely is it is a hazard. So if it is a hazard, definitely some control measures are required, and definitely the machine is being used, or trolleys is machine for the lifting and transportation of the material. So it means that the machine is also being used for this activity. So in that case, for example, the weight is more and the people are less. So in that case, definitely the manual handling is a hazard. The other thing which I just want to contribute, the risk calculation, actually, I disagree on the reduction of the severity, because severity is something have a potential of something like harm level of harm. For example, what is the potential if something happen wrong, what could be happen? The other part of risk calculation is the probability. So in this kind of control measure which is been written here, we are not sure something engineering control or something substitute is being used for in this control measure. So in this scenario, we cannot reduce the severity. This is very important point, and the most of the time, especially when the subcontractor submit their risk assessment and the risk calculation, most of the time, sometimes the people just copy paste and all these kind of things are happening. So the severity must be calculated based on the control measure. What kind of control measure? If the control measure or administration is the training is kind of something control which can be failed, is that there is some chance of the failure, then we should not go on this level to reduce the severity. For example, I give you the example. We have a cable trail on the floor, okay, and it is full of like it is live cable of 220 voltage. Okay, so my question is here, 220 voltage can kill, right? 220 voltage in case of any electric shock can kill.
Yes,
okay,
sure.
now
Yes.
we are going to provide the control measure. For example, we are going to provide the control measure. Okay, protect the cable, put some protection layer, blah 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 blah. Okay, but still 220 voltage are there. Cable is still on the floor. We protected it with some control measures, but it is some control measure. The control measure like protection or something. This protection can be failed. we inform the people, we posted some signage, okay, this is a live cable here. It's all these kind of things we done is something administration control or some control measure which can be failed. In that circumstances, we will not reduce the severity. Okay. So another case, if we are going to remove the cable and put in another way somewhere, not in being trail on the floor or it is concealed or somewhere in other way, definitely severity will be reduced. So if we are, so it means it's substitute or it's something reduction in the risk in some technical way or some in engineering way. So this is my point of view. Once we are calculating the risk, and I believe that JSA should not be like this mathematical calculated risk assessment. It should be very simple. It is should be broken down in very minor and macro level, like a very small activity, for example, like same like shifting printer. So it should be very minor micro level, and it should be very simple, understandable to the lower level of the worker. So once it is done, so it is communicated to the worker in the form of toolbox tasks. So this is my point of view. It can be wrong. If someone have some clarification on this, I would be happy to learn and to fix and correct myself. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Mohammed.
Yeah.
Your points are all valid. Actually, while I was doing this severity, putting the values, I was not paying close attention to the type of control I put. And you tried so much in specifying in situations whereby severity can be reduced. Yeah, the severity value can be reduced in certain situations.
Cannot hear
You're
you.
audible. We
Cannot
cannot
hear you,
hear
Jos.
you.
You cannot hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay,
You're
so
audible now.
I said you did a very good work in specifying certain conditions or certain situations where it's possible to reduce the severity rating of the hazard. And you also did a good job in specifying the type of control measures that will likely be in place for the severity level to be reduced. So I totally agree with you. So while putting this value here, I was not paying attention in the control measure. But what I try to explain is that in some situations, there could be a reduction in the severity rating, which will also give you a reduction in the risk rating. Okay, so thank you very much for that, your wonderful contribution.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're welcome. See, Mr.
Okay.
Johnson, that is the human error you did here. So same human error can be happen during the activity execution. That's why we are not reducing their severity.
Yes, that is why we are in a training session. So it's not we're in a training session. You are very correct, and that is why
Yes.
we are all here. We are all professionals.
Yes.
All right.
Let
You
me,
remember we were colleagues?
You were saying something, Mohammed.
Yeah, we were colleagues. We worked together, if you remember.
Maybe very soon I will see your face. Don't worry, you your face.
I don't want to show my face, eh?
All right. Ah. Ah. Okay.
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 Yes.
Let me come in.
Yeah.
Yes. Just to just to complement what Mr. Mohammed have said. Yes, he has really spoken well. Because initially when he started, I thought maybe he wanted to completely condemn the area of severity, like there is no way severity can be reduced, So in some rare cases or rare scenario, based on, like he has said, based on what we are putting as a control measure will determine if the severity is going to reduce or not. But in most cases, they are likely not to reduce. Okay, so sometimes there have been some expert arguments on that area of severity. Some professional will tell you severity does not reduce, but we've carry out some analysis. There are some sections we've had also where we pour more light on that. And what Mohammed has said is very clear, is very understandable. I will thank him also for that highlights. And basically, just like what he said, yes, most of the time, I work in a place where I review risk assessment, for example, JSA method statement and a lot, which is like basically most of my functions and all that. So sometimes I see a lot of copy and paste stuffs and all that, But for me, if it's involving an high risk activity, I will make my comments. I will get in. Sometimes I have to have some issues with them because you find some organization, they don't really have people to do this job for them. They just go online, do copy and paste and all that, because they might feel, oh, this activity is not an high risk activity, so why should I employ a safety officer and all that? So I see a lot of scenario of what he's talking about, and to the best of my knowledge, there's a way I try to correct them in that regard. Then I will go back to Mr. Who asked the question. I think is it
Femi,
okay, fine. Yeah, I would really like to, if I could remember vividly, you've taken off this JSA. Yes, I think he was saying something about manual handling.
Yeah,
yes.
Some activities in hazard.
Yes. Actually, manual handling is an hazard. Is classified as, you can classify manual handling as an hazard, okay? But now, manual handling at the same time could be an activity on its own. Now, for example, when you look at what we just did here, what Mr. Johnson just did, load on this, push the trolley, blah, blah, blah. You see these three activities on its own, if you are not breaking it down as GSA, the activity you can tag the activity manual handling activity. You get it? So now what we have done in the JSA, he has been able to break it down into steps. That makes it different from normal. In a risk assessment, you can just write manual handling activity. You get the point? So in the whatever hazard can be identified in that manual activity can be almost the same thing that have been stated here in the hazard. Pinch can come in, uneven floor, manual handling can come in, collision, but then, all those things can come in. So I'm just trying to make it so that you can understand it a bit. So if you see manual handling appearing in hazard as an hazard, it exists. It's normal. It is there, and it also can be an activity, can stand as an activity on its own. But for the purpose of JSA, you will not see it come as an activity, because here we are talking about breaking the task, breaking it into tasks step by step and all that. So I think that is where Mr. Johnson came about the whole explanation and all that. So basically, the essence is for us to be able to split or identify those hazards to be specific in a certain area of the job breakdown or activity, to be precise. So for me, that's what I could remember. I can remember to say to your question that you asked. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, others can contribute also.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mr. David.
Yes, yeah, while you were sharing your screen, you mentioned something about this job safety analysis is being prepared, or it is being prepared by the engineer down to the workers, as per your breakdown from the presentation. But I have not seen where workers are being involved in preparing a job safety analysis. it's very rare in the most especially in the construction field, where they involve workers in the step-by-step preparation of the job safety analysis? Or is it that it is being prepared and then explained to them? I would like to really understand, because in most cases you find out that all these things are being prepared and then it's been discussed briefly with the workforce. So if it's the wrong process, I would like to be enlightened more, because now it's a bit different from what I assumed or presumed to be the truth. Thank you.
Okay, I will just answer briefly. I want others also to. Man, somebody is saying no voice. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can hear you. Can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
All right, so I will briefly answer, and I want somebody else to contribute also. See, in this part of the world, or what is going on, most times it's not the right thing. So one of the reasons why we are here is to tell ourselves what should be the right thing. So that's what I've said is what should be the right thing. So whatever we are practicing on site is the wrong thing. So the right thing is it should be prepared by the experts involved in that activity. Safety himself should just be a spectator, or maybe he can just be a secretary in the team, writing down what they are doing, because safety doesn't know how they do the activity, doesn't know the steps of the activity. So that is what is the right thing. Okay, that I will stop there, and I would like I'd like Mr. Mohammed to contribute on this.
I think.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Let me just contribute shortly on this. The basic truth is that I think it is only in Nigeria. I think per se, not all company, but let me say 1 to 100. I can say 80 or 70%. We want to shift the responsibility of JSA preparation alongside the work method statement to HSE department. But the professional best way to handle it in a more better way is the end user who prepare their JSA, or even if it is risk assessment, then HSE can only be a supporting team. Okay, if maybe while they are preparing, after preparation, they can send to HSE for a review alongside with the work method statement, because the work method statement is also being developed by the end users or the departmental, the construction team engineers. So even if, for example, I want as an HSE professional, I want to review a JSA, I must request for the work method statement. Through the work method statement will only be a guide for me after the construction must have prepared what they know as per their subject expert in the field, who knows the step they want to use in carrying out the task. So, and this should also be part of one of a training that they will receive, additional training they will receive from site, how GSA is being prepared, so that it will not be a new thing to them. So once the training has been received, and once they come across it, they can do it more better. Like I can just refer to where I'm working here in Saudi. Since I arrived here, I never prepared GSA. It is the end users that we prepared, and they will send to us for all non-routine activity. Then we will review. Then for the routine activity, and the non-routine activity. Then for the critical activities, once they're prepared, we share it with clients, and we jointly review together with the end user also being present, because most cases we do this review on Skypes. Once they send Aramco, we send a link. Once we send to them that we have this critical activity of GSA to review together, since that is what is in their procedure, that every critical activity review of GSA must be done by them alongside with us, and they must get approval in such process. So we review, because there could be some technical question that we ask And the end user will be the one to answer those questions, not an HSC professional who does not know the step-by-step that they want to use in carrying out their job. So I believe the best way to have a detailed and a well-documented JSA is for the end user to prepare their JSA. Then HSC can be of a support by reviewing if there are some steps that they must have missed by adding the adequate and the proper risks that have been missed so that everything will be in a better line and well presented. I think for me, that is how I think it should be.
All right, thank you, Mr. Francis.
Yes, to add to what they've said so far, Mr. Francis he has nailed it all. But I think to also correct your notion, I don't think it's only Nigeria you see it happens like that. Even in some company in the Middle East, you also find out that you see, I've been in a company where I was asked, in fact, I was told I'm supposed to be preparing a method statement. Then I challenged them. I said no. I said it is the only thing is that I must, as a professional, I should have the knowledge to review a method statement. Okay. Because as a professional, even when it comes down to the risk assessment, they all left all these things in the hands of the safety officer. Because see, some company will recruit you because they want somebody who is going to be preparing risk assessment and method statement. And you see, some nationality, I wouldn't want to mention name, they created this problem in the Middle East. Okay, because we call them jack of all trade. When they tell them, I've seen people is a safety officer. They are doing this area of what do they call them? They do tender. They prepare tenders. See, these are skills you can just learn on your own, but putting it as a responsibility of safety, a lot of things comes in like that. So that is where you in a situation like that, you find so many things happen wrongly. But for us as an expert, for us to know as an expert, and that is why we are here, because some of us might be confused, some of us might not know what to do. Myself, if I find myself in that situation, I challenge them, because I know I know how much I've spent for myself, how much I've invested for myself to get to the level I am. Then nobody will come and ridicule me or rubbish me or bring me down as if I don't know what I'm doing. So if I want to do certain things, it will just be on my discretion, but not to you to impose it to me and tell me I must do this and this should be my, no. These are the things, and these are areas that as a professional, when you are getting employed, when you look at your job description, sometimes you need to review those things so that people don't put what is not meant for you. So if you know you want to accept it, then you accept it at your own expense and all that. So basically, whether JSA or normal risk assessment, this is something that majorly the end users are the ones, who understand the nitty-gritty of what they want to do. Our own is to review for them, because when you review, sometimes maybe the control they are providing might be limited. That is why you as an expert, you come in and say, oh, these things is missing. These particular things are missing. Then it is your responsibility also as a safety officer to identify certain areas of control, because that is our aim. We are to reduce the risk to prevent injury or accident. So when we see that certain things is missing in the area of the control measure and all that, in the area of risk rating and also all those places we can come in. See, there is no law that says we should not have the knowledge and all those things. In fact, it is our core responsibility to have the knowledge and everything. But I've seen it over the years that those things have been shifted completely to the safety, especially when it comes to JSA. In fact, we don't even have business there, because for me, sometimes where I challenge them is that, Habibi, what you want to do, I don't know. I don't have knowledge. Can you break it down for me? Can you tell me what you want to do? It is when you tell me what you want to do, I can come in and tell you, oh, this thing you want to do, this is likely the risk that is involved. This is likely to be the hazard. These are the things that is going to come up, But for me to start telling you I'm breaking the job, blah, 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 all those things are not my responsibility. But at the same time, we should have the knowledge. We should have the idea. so that for us, we have the idea, we should. That is the normal practice, but it is not our responsibility to totally do it. You know, we might just be there, just like Mr. Johnson has said, just be like a secretary, just observe, identify a lot of things, correct a lot of things, you know, during the process and all that. That is why we are there. It's a teamwork, you know, it's a teamwork whereby we need to be present at the moment, at that particular point, while there are engineers, foreman, or supervisor, and the workers, they should get involved. But my brother, the truth is that except you go to the oil and gas process industry, I can see that Mr. Ovie Francis is speaking from the background he's coming from. Majority in the construction, my brother, forget it. Just forget it. So that is where, you know, but when you try to speak, sometimes you get challenged, your jobs are being threatened and a lot. So these are all challenges we face as an health and safety practitioner. But on this platform, it's just for the knowledge, for us to understand what is right and what is wrong. I think this is where I will stop. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, I just want to add something, you know. From
Excuse
my
me,
own
brother.
experience. Sorry, okay. Somebody. Mr.
Go
Mohammed,
ahead.
you want to
Go
say
ahead.
something?
Go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
for my own
actually, I'm sorry to say, actually, this is a prayer time, very close. Just I want to say some, just few things, which is coming in my mind. If you people don't mind, so just
Okay.
later on, I just request to leave.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, the common thing actually, the culture here in the Middle East, unfortunately, actually we are copy pasting safety culture and safety system, safety management system from the Europe. This is the main culprit here. I would say because the regulation there is different than here. Okay, so because of that, once the safety resource is on the board in any company, any organization, they think that okay, this is all responsibility is safety people to produce each and everything. Unfortunately, I would say I came here in 2011. The word safety was written only on my offer letter. Okay, and I was the one producing method statement. It's not about method statement, risk each and everything. Okay, long story short, see, the thing is that wherever we are working here, at the end of the day, we are the people working, struggling, whatever, to reduce the risk level, to minimize the incident in the organization. That is our major role as a safety professional. So in that circumstances, what I would say, we start and we need to educate the people. It's very difficult, especially in non-oil and gas sector. We need to teach the management as well as lower level of the team, and we should get involved. We should get them involved. Otherwise, most civil engineering and civil construction and infrastructure, where we safety professionals are very good, and we can understand, we can learn, and we can make a very good risk assessment, and we can, you see, the risk assessment is like a key document where we assess the risk and control the risk, control and reduce the risk. But in technical building, or sorry, in a technical projects, where the like electronics things are, high tech things are there, as a safety professional, if he is not an engineer, if he is not electrical electronic engineer, and he is not a keen to learn, unfortunately you can get a lot of incident because of poor risk assessment. And I have experienced recently, 2 years before, I've been working as a consultant safety in a high tech building where we have a variety of electrical installation and electronic devices, so many things, you know. When they used to submit risk assessment to a consultant for the review, it's come to me, I reject one time, two time, three time. What this my gentleman here said, okay, we are here to work for them as a consultant. So sometime you need to teach a contractor, and you know what is happening. And, the risk assessment was being prepared by the safety officer and even sometime electrical engineer. But the problem was electrical engineer was a general electrical engineer. He was not something high electronics professional, and his scope was not there to involve in that some electrical activities. So for example, if some super high risk and high tech activities are being performed, as a safety professional or any simple engineer, how you can assess the risk. Okay, so what I did, considering as a challenge at this project, because our client was some European company, and they were assessing every time through online, and then even they forced us to show us through live camera. To be honest, they were saying that we have to do some safety work through live camera. So what I was struggling. So I try to learn all the activity, what are the risk level in that electronics devices, and control my ears and all the things, and then I started to teach all these people. So these are the things, these are the challenges as a safety professional. What I would say, that my last words are, we should teach each and everybody to end of the day to minimize the risk level, because our aim, our nature of the work, our objective, when we are doing and we going to the work every day, we are thinking that everybody should be safe, okay, and safely go back to the home. Then we should work at maximum level. What we can do should be maximum. This is my last word. Thank you very much for everyone. So
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. You have said it all. So thank you. All right, so I like this type of question. Is very interesting to engage us. Is actually what we see in our day-to-day activities, but actually when we know the right thing, and if the opportunity to prove that we know the right thing comes on board, we should prove it. But you know that people are protecting their jobs, people are protecting their daily income. So that is why it looks like we don't know what is our right or what we are not supposed to do. But actually, the major risk involved in this is, if something goes wrong, the entire blame will go to the person that prepared the document, or the person that prepared the JSA. And when is the wrong person that prepared the JSA, it's not actually easy to get it correct. There are a lot of technical things that you might miss. No matter how easy you think the activity is, these guys involved, they have done that particular job for a very long time. Some of them have done it for 5 years, 6 years. But for you as safety, you might not have been in that particular activity for a very long time. So in as much as you understand what is going on, but it doesn't mean that you are fully involved. So when they get engaged and when they are part of preparing the JSA, it's part of the ownership. They own it. They own the activity. They own the process, and they decide the steps that they want to take and the risk control measures that they want to implement. You can be there to guide and to direct their decisions. That is what I think should be the right thing. All right. So thank you guys for that wonderful clarification.
So, hello.
Hello, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I just want to add a little contribution. Actually, I have learned a lot from all the speakers and everyone that answers questions. Yes, I pick a point from also Mr. Steven when he said that we have gone to this extent not to allow somebody to come and rubbish your profession and stuff like that. Yes, I want to stand also on that statement and also encourage everyone, because sometimes intimidation is always there at workplace, and many of us, we fear not to lose our profession. I have been a victim, but trust me, when I stood my ground, nobody sacked me. They also gave me some leverage in the company, and I always make reference to it whenever I have the opportunity. At the end of the day, the man that was threatening to sack me, the owner of the job, which is the client, and they had a meeting, and they told him, if you bring this issue to this regarding this safety officer on his advice again, you will be the one to be sacked. But if I have feared and just take what he said, because I was trying to also implement the point we are raising, JSA, job safety, work control, and all that. So we should hold our profession with pride, and we should, as a health and safety professional, you have to have some ability to convince and build trust. So when you give advice on what to do, because this JSA thing is actually, all you have said is a way of communicating the safe process and how we do the job safe. And as you all have rightly said, it is not, you cannot do the JSA in isolation. There's a JSA team leader, which involves the work party. That is very correct, but unfortunately, we are all engaged in it and doing it because we are forced to do it. But we can devise a means to advise these people and also advise for training. So the work team should be fully involved. And with that, at least we can have a better understanding. Thank you. That's my to contribute.
All right, thank you very much. And yeah, who else wants to speak before we call it?
Yeah. Mr. Johnson, yes, one thing just is coming in my mind, maybe I will forget. The thing is that when as a safety professional, we tell the management, okay, this is a risk assessment, this is a control measure, you implement it. This is not easy. This is not very easy, each and every case. Okay, this is a control measure, you do it. For example, I will give you one example. You suggest that the people working at height must be anchored with a fall arrest system. Okay, and you don't have any anchoring point there, and you are asking that as a safety professional, no, you should anchor your fall arrest system, full body harness in some safely and do job safely. If this is your last word, and unfortunately the culture in our area where we are living, people, especially engineer, also don't know about this, because there is no culture from the year. They are not learning from the even universities. And even, for example, if the engineer is new, the site engineer is new, the industry for him is new also, he don't know the multiple options. So as a safety professional, maybe you people aware that there are a lot of variety of follower system there in the market now. So you should, as a safety professional, you should have a more than one or 2, 3 control measures option to tell your management. Okay, if you don't have any anchoring point, for example, nearby, you can ask them, okay, fall arrest system to use retractable fall arrest system, retractable to nearby any anchor point where they can anchor, or they can install anchor point and do pull-up test. See, there are so many options you can adopt as per the situation. But if you have a good experience, good knowledge, and learning about your professional, and you must know that, for example, if you are a safety officer, safety engineer at any building project, for example, you must know each and every upcoming activities and risk related to that activity and the control measure. You must know that this is a high-rise building and tomorrow they are going to install elevator. So which type and which kind of elevator they are going to install, and what will be the risk level, and which company is going to install, and how they will be doing. So all this coming should be in your mind in proactively. I know that you are not a mechanical engineer, you are not electrical engineer to suggest about the elevation is elevator installation, but you must know that, otherwise you cannot be spear on them, you cannot advise them. If you are going to advise them, they will kick you out, okay, because you don't know about the professional and technical things from that. Unfortunately, as a safety, we must learn so many things to be able as a safety engineer to advise engineering control.
Yes, Mohammed, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
That word is very, very common here, that some safety officers or safety professionals are not fully involved in that in activities. They only stand as like a policeman, or maybe just as a correction. You need to read more about that the activities, and that is why some people say that safety officers or safety professionals, they know everything. They know a bit of everything. So that is very, very important, that in your job, in your activity, don't just allow them to do and maybe you meet them only when they're on site. You need to ask questions ahead. What are you going to do tomorrow? What is the next step for tomorrow? In this activity, you have done this today, so what is the next tomorrow? And they will tell you maybe, and there's like a look ahead meetings, coordination meetings that is done. During those meetings, you should be able to ask proper questions. When are you going to do this particular activity? After this, which activity comes next? So you'll be able to know ahead if they have all the adequate control measures that should be in place, and you start your recommendation on time, so that when they are already in the activity and you start their recommendations, which they might not be able to fulfill at that time, that is where this unsafe acts come into place. And at the end, if there is an accident, you will also be culpable. So let's, while we are learning our own safety profession, let's dedicate few time to learn about the activities, the technical aspect of the activities going on in our workplace. It's advisable and it's very important as well. Okay, guys, we've stayed more than our scheduled time. So thank you all for joining today. And I appreciate all the contributions, all the corrections, all the questions and answers, and I appreciate your time as well. So next week, Thursday by 6 p.m., we are going to discuss another topic as well. So I will communicate to us the topic selected for next week so that we can also get prepared. All right. Thank you very much for joining. Do have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day, too.
Take care. Take care, brother.
Thank you, bro.